Hello, I'm Dean Martin with Transmission Digest. Welcome to the TransStar Industry Studios here at Babcock's Media.
Hello, I'm Brendan Baker. I'm the editor of Transmission Digest. Today we're here with Mike Riley, our technical editor, and we're going to be discussing some of the common, maybe not common issues, but some of the current challenges that is facing transmission shops today and what's kind of affecting the industry. And Mike has a long experience in the industry.
Too long,
probably, as he would say. So we're going to talk to Mike and kind of see where we are. So first, what are some of the biggest issues right now that you see in the industry for shops?
Well, as with any small business, transmission shops have always had certain difficulties in operation. One of those difficulties has always been, and especially today, is product availability. That is becoming more and more of an issue.
So is product availability more of an issue today than in the past, or is it
I would say it's becoming more of an issue. Decades ago, we had literally a handful of transmissions that represented the business. Today, we have well over 250 transmission families with ongoing upgrades, which results in a lot more parts to access. And that's one reason it's become more and more of a challenge for shops when they get a vehicle in.
So is there one particular type of product that is more difficult to obtain or source than others?
Transmission product that shops require are basically break down into groups. Kits and kit components, other soft parts such as filters and bushings, washers, hard parts, whether it's OEM, remanufactured, aftermarket new, or used, not to mention the explosion of electrical components as well as torque converters. So those are the main groups that they have to focus on.
Are there particular reasons why one group of parts are harder to obtain than others?
When you look at what has to be sourced today and the suppliers that we traditionally had dealt with, because of how the OEMs have reacted with their supplier, it's made it more difficult to get certain product that we used to get, and it forced distributors such as TransStar to make other arrangements than going to certain OE suppliers. TransStar is a global transmission distributor, and they even have sometimes difficulties acquiring certain product, and it may result in having to reverse engineer things and so on. So that's one reason it's been more of a challenge to supply this big array of transmissions. For instance, I mentioned kits and kit components. Companies such as Transtech, Precision, International, CL Aftermarket Component, these are all companies that produce rebuilding kits. Can you imagine going through the drill of coming up with every little gasket, O-ring, lathe cut, D-ring, and so on, sealing rings, to put into these bags? Even with the access that they have, it is super challenging to come up with these overhaul sets. When you look at other soft parts, a simple thing like a bushing. A bushing is a hard part to make. Tolerances have to be consistent. And companies where we used to be able to get these bushings consistently, those sources have somewhat dried up, forcing the aftermarket to make other choices, other arrangements. So that has also made things more difficult in the supply line. So there are a lot of parts that have moved from an OE sourcing to an aftermarket sourcing. When you look at things such as cores, again, decades ago, cores were plentiful, they were cheap, which meant remanufactured parts were also plentiful and cheap. Today, cores are much harder to come by, much more expensive, which pushes the cost downstream up for the shops and making it more difficult. The explosion of electrical components has also made it really hard, forcing many shops to go to the OE to purchase specific electricals such as solenoids, sensors, and in some cases you can't even buy individual solenoids or sensors. You might have to buy an entire valve body for several $100s.
Yeah.
So that is also an issue that distributors like TranStar have to deal with every day.
I hear that a lot of shops that I've talked to say that one of their biggest challenges on the electronic side, because they're becoming more complex.
And it's not only simple solenoids or sensors. Many transmissions are what we call TEHCM units, which means the computer, the TEHCM, is internal, and that prohibits interchangeability as well as testing and other issues that pop up. So yes, electrical has really become an issue for shops.
So when a shop is taking in a job, what should their expectations be given all these things that you've kind of spoken about here? That, you know, there's what should shops really do in order to fulfill their job and to make a happy customer and make money? Well,
to avoid shooting yourself in the foot, when a job is taken in, you have to do diligence. You have to really know why it's there. Once you disassemble a transmission, you evaluate everything that you need before you quote the job and not have to go back to the customer like, oops, I missed something for $300. So really be diligent about looking over what is needed, and once you determine that, quote the job. Just have a little patience with your supplier because it is not an easy thing, and I know some shops get a little frustrated at times because they can't have the part by 10 o'clock in the morning. So be a little understanding with your supplier.
Mike, thank you very much for being here and for your valuable insight, and we really appreciate everything you've provided for us and laying out some of these challenges for shops in the industry that are going on today. And thanks to everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.